this episode, we bring together everything that makes disaster recovery planning more than a document on a shared drive. Writing a disaster recovery plan, DRP, is an important step, but the real value appears only when the organization tests it, maintains it, and improves it over time as the business and technology environment continue to change. For a new learner, this matters because a recovery plan can look complete during review and still fail badly when an outage, cyber attack, or major system disruption forces people to use it under pressure. The reason is simple. Plans drift away from reality unless they are exercised, checked, and updated with discipline. A team may believe it can recover critical systems quickly, but that belief means very little until someone tries to follow the plan in a realistic situation and sees where the gaps, delays, and wrong assumptions actually are. From the Certified Information Security Manager, CISM, perspective, testing, maintenance, and improvement are how the DRP stays operationally trustworthy instead of becoming a false source of comfort. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyberauthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A useful place to start is with the idea that recovery planning is not a one-time project with a permanent finish line. Many beginners imagine that once a DRP has been approved, the hard part is over and the organization can simply store the plan until it is needed. In reality, approval is closer to the beginning than the end. The plan reflects a specific moment in time, including the systems in use, the people in key roles, the vendors involved, the business priorities in place, and the assumptions leaders have made about acceptable downtime and data loss. As soon as those conditions begin to shift, the recovery plan can begin to lose accuracy. That loss may be slow and quiet, which makes it especially dangerous because nobody feels the failure until a disruptive event finally exposes it. Testing reveals whether the plan actually works, maintenance keeps it aligned with reality, and improvement turns experience into stronger future readiness. When those three activities are missing, the DRP may still exist, but its usefulness can decline long before anyone realizes it. It also helps to separate these three ideas so they do not blur together. Testing is the activity of exercising the recovery plan to see whether people, processes, and technical arrangements perform the way the organization expects. Maintenance is the ongoing work of keeping the plan current by updating contacts, responsibilities, dependencies, procedures, recovery assumptions, and supporting information as the environment changes. Improvement goes a step further by using lessons from testing, incidents, near misses, audits, and operational experience to make the plan stronger than it was before. These are connected activities, but they are not identical. An organization can maintain a plan by updating names and system references while still failing to test it meaningfully. It can test the plan regularly and still fail to improve it if the same findings appear over and over again without real correction. It can improve one section after a major incident while letting the rest of the plan age quietly. Strong disaster recovery management treats all three as part of the same life cycle because trust in the DRP depends on more than neat documentation. The reason testing matters so much is that recovery plans are full of assumptions, and assumptions are where many failures begin. A team may assume backups are complete, that network routes will be available, that vendor support will respond quickly, that key staff will know their roles, or that restored applications will function normally once the servers are running again. Those assumptions may sound reasonable during design, yet some of them will often prove weaker than expected when the organization actually tries to perform recovery work. Testing helps uncover those weaknesses before a real disaster turns them into business damage. It also changes the conversation from confidence based on intention to confidence based on evidence. A recovery team that has successfully exercised critical parts of the plan under realistic conditions has a much stronger foundation than a team relying on untested expectations. For new learners, that is one of the biggest mindset shifts in this topic. The question is not whether the DRP sounds good. The question is whether the organization can actually do what the plan says it can do. Testing can take different forms, And that variety matters because not every part of a DRP needs to be exercised the same way. Some tests are discussion-based and focus on whether the right people understand roles, decision points, escalation paths, and recovery priorities. Others involve more hands-on validation of backup restoration, application recovery, network failover, alternate processing, or coordination with outside providers. A walkthrough can help confirm that the plan is readable and that responsibilities are understood, while a tabletop exercise can reveal how leaders think through sequencing, communication, and trade-offs during a realistic disruption. More technical recovery exercises can show whether the organization can actually meet recovery expectations in practice rather than only on paper. These forms of testing are not competing alternatives. They each reveal different kinds of truth. A discussion exercise may expose unclear ownership, while a technical test may expose dependency failures or timing problems that were never visible in conversation alone. Mature recovery programs usually need more than one style of testing because the DRP includes both managerial decisions and technical recovery realities. A strong test begins with a clear purpose, because testing without a defined objective can become little more than activity that feels reassuring without producing much real insight. The organization should know what it is trying to learn before it starts. It may be trying to validate a specific recovery sequence, confirm that a critical application can be restored within its target time, evaluate communication between technical and business leaders, or examine how the recovery process depends on a third-party provider. The test should be scoped carefully enough that the results are meaningful and interpretable. If the scope is too broad, the exercise may become confusing and difficult to manage. If it is too narrow, it may miss the dependency or decision issues that cause real recovery efforts to stumble. A well-scoped test should reflect business priorities, not just technical convenience. That means critical functions identified through the Business Impact Analysis, BIA, and the Business Continuity Plan, BCP, should strongly influence what parts of the DRP are tested first and most often. Testing becomes much more valuable when it follows the same business logic that shaped the recovery priorities in the first place. Realism is another major factor in successful testing. A recovery exercise that is too polished or too predictable may produce comfort without revealing how the organization behaves when things are messy, incomplete, and stressful. Real disruptions usually involve missing information, uncertain timelines, competing priorities, strained communications, and dependencies that do not cooperate exactly when needed. Good testing does not need to create chaos for its own sake, but it should reflect enough realism that important weaknesses have a chance to appear. If a scenario assumes all key staff are available immediately, all vendor contacts respond right away, and every technical step goes according to schedule, the organization may be testing an ideal world rather than its actual recovery readiness. Realism also means recognizing the difference between technical recovery and business readiness. A system may be restored in a lab or limited environment and still not be ready to support real business operations at scale. Strong testing, therefore, looks beyond whether something can be restarted and asks whether it can actually support the business in the way the plan assumes. One of the most valuable things a test can reveal is the quality of coordination among people, because even technically capable recovery teams can struggle when authority, communication, and sequencing are unclear. During a significant disruption, recovery usually involves technology staff, security personnel, application owners, business leaders, communications teams, vendor contacts, and sometimes legal or compliance stakeholders as well. The DRP becomes much stronger when tests show that these groups understand how they fit together and what decisions must be made when time matters. A plan may clearly state that a certain application has a short recovery time objective, RTO, but if nobody knows who can approve the shift to alternate processing or who confirms that restored data is acceptable, the recovery effort may still stall. The same is true for communication. If technical teams recover systems faster than business units are informed, the organization may delay resumption unnecessarily. If executive leaders are not updated with useful context, they may make premature or misaligned decisions. Testing shows whether the recovery plan supports coordinated action or whether each team is operating from a partial and disconnected picture. Technical validation is especially important because recovery planning often depends on capabilities that look stronger in theory than they prove to be in practice. Backups may exist, but restoration may take longer than expected, fail under certain conditions, or restore only part of what the business actually needs. Alternate infrastructure may be available, but key integrations, credentials, or network paths may not work cleanly during failover. A recovered environment may come online, yet essential monitoring, access control, or logging may not be functioning at the level needed to support normal operations safely. These details matter because disaster recovery is not complete when a server image appears or a database starts. Recovery succeeds only when systems, data, access, connectivity, and essential business functions come back together in a usable and trustworthy way. This is why technical testing should be treated as evidence gathering rather than a performance show. The goal is to learn what the organization can truly recover, how long it takes, what dependencies create delay, and where the plan still overestimates the recovery capability it claims to provide. After testing, the organization needs disciplined follow-through because findings are where improvement begins. A recovery exercise that uncovers important gaps but produces no changes is little more than a rehearsal for repeating the same weaknesses later. Test results should therefore be documented in a way that captures what was attempted, what worked, what failed, what assumptions proved wrong, and what decisions or delays had the greatest effect on recovery outcome. That record should not be treated as blame material. The value of testing comes from honest learning, not from making people defensive about imperfections that were the whole reason for exercising the plan in the first place. Findings should be prioritized according to business impact and recovery significance. Some issues may be small documentation problems, while others may reveal that a critical dependency is missing or that stated recovery objectives are unrealistic. The most important thing is that lessons lead to accountable action. Improvement only becomes real when findings are assigned, tracked, addressed, and later retested to confirm that the weakness has actually been reduced rather than simply discussed and forgotten. Maintenance becomes essential because even a well-tested DRP can become stale as the organization changes. New systems are introduced, old ones are retired, cloud services are expanded, teams are reorganized, vendors change their support structures, remote work patterns shift, and leadership responsibilities evolve. Any of these changes can quietly weaken recovery assumptions if the plan is not updated to match. This is why a DRP needs clear ownership and regular review cycles. Someone must be accountable for making sure the document remains aligned with current architecture, business priorities, staffing, vendor relationships, and related continuity plans. That ownership should not be vague or informal, because plans without clear owners tend to age in place while everyone assumes someone else is keeping them current. Maintenance also includes verifying that supporting information remains accurate. Contact lists, escalation paths, system inventories, dependency maps, recovery priorities, and evidence of tested capabilities should all be reviewed with enough discipline that the organization is not surprised by outdated details during a real recovery event. A current plan is a maintained plan, not merely a once-approved one. Change management plays a large role in maintenance because the DRP should not lag behind major business or technical changes. If a company migrates critical workloads to a new provider, changes its identity platform, retires a key data center, adds a business-critical application, or outsources a major operational function, the recovery plan may need more than minor edits. The recovery sequence may change, dependencies may shift, roles may move, and communications paths may require redesign. A mature organization therefore ties recovery plan maintenance to significant change events instead of relying only on calendar-based review. This approach is important because some changes affect recovery readiness immediately, not gradually. If the DRP still reflects the old environment after a major transformation, the plan may be less useful than leadership assumes. Good maintenance means asking a simple but powerful question whenever the environment changes. Does this change alter how we would recover critical services if a disaster occurred tomorrow? When the answer is yes, the plan should be revised before the next disruption tests an outdated version. Improvement is where the DRP matures over time, because a recovery plan should become stronger through experience rather than remaining fixed in its original form. Improvement does not come only from formal tests. It can also come from actual incidents, service interruptions, audit findings, vendor issues, near misses, and even smaller operational problems that reveal fragility in backup processes, dependency awareness, communication flow, or recovery decision-making. A mature organization pays attention to these signals and uses them to sharpen the DRP before a larger event exposes the same weakness at a higher cost. Improvement may involve clarifying decision authority, simplifying recovery steps, revising recovery objectives, strengthening backup validation, redefining vendor escalation paths, or integrating the DRP more tightly with incident response and business continuity governance. Over time, this creates a healthier resilience cycle. The plan is exercised, the organization learns, the document is revised, capabilities are strengthened, and confidence becomes more evidence-based. Improvement is therefore not an optional layer of polish. It is how the recovery program grows from basic readiness into a more dependable part of enterprise resilience. Leadership support and culture matter more than many beginners expect because testing and improvement require organizational honesty. If leaders treat exercises as ceremonial events where the main goal is to appear ready, teams may hide uncertainty, soften findings, or avoid testing the most important but most uncomfortable recovery assumptions. That creates a dangerous kind of confidence because the organization begins to trust a version of the DRP that has not really been challenged. Strong leadership creates a different environment. It treats testing as a learning activity, expects findings to surface, and supports corrective action even when the lessons are inconvenient or costly. This culture also helps when maintenance requires updates that cross departments or affect business priorities. Recovery readiness is not preserved by the technical team alone. It depends on business owners, vendor managers, leaders, and support teams accepting that resilience needs steady attention. When the organization values realism over appearance, the DRP becomes much more reliable because people are allowed to discover weakness early instead of pretending maturity until a real disaster proves otherwise. Common mistakes are worth recognizing because they explain why some recovery plans fail even in organizations that believe they were prepared. One common error is treating testing as a box to check rather than as a real validation exercise, which often leads to shallow scenarios and little follow-through. Another is focusing only on technical restoration while ignoring communications, business confirmation, third-party support, and decision authority. Some organizations maintain documents mechanically by updating names and dates while leaving outdated recovery assumptions untouched. Others repeat the same tests year after year, which makes the exercise more familiar but not more revealing. There is also a tendency to declare success too quickly once a system is restored without examining whether the data, integrations, controls, and business workflows are actually usable. These mistakes all point to the same lesson. Recovery readiness is not proved by having a DRP, by running one exercise, or by filing one set of updates. It is proved by continued discipline, honest testing, active maintenance, and a willingness to improve when the evidence shows that the plan is weaker than people hoped. As we close, the central lesson is that testing, maintenance, and improvement of your DRP are what turn disaster recovery from a planning exercise into a living operational capability. Testing shows whether the organization can really recover the systems and services it depends on. Maintenance keeps the plan aligned with changing technology, staffing, vendors, and business priorities. Improvement makes the plan stronger over time by using lessons from tests, incidents, and operational experience instead of letting those lessons fade away. For a new CISM learner, this topic matters because resilience is not created by writing alone. It is created when the organization keeps challenging its assumptions, correcting what it learns, and refusing to treat yesterday's plan as automatically good enough for tomorrow's disaster. When a DRP is tested honestly, maintained carefully, and improved steadily, it becomes far more than a document. It becomes a credible way for the business to recover faster, make better decisions under pressure, and protect critical operations when technology disruption threatens to pull everything apart.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.